Good morning, everyone. Today in our Quantum Sparks program, our micro class, we're going to talk about the physics of productivity and progress. So yes, we're going to dig into a little bit of science, specifically physics today, and talk about how the Newton's first law, specifically the law of inertia, can work for us or against us when it comes to achieving big goals and big achievements in our business. Whoops, let me just let a couple more people in. Okay. So before we get started, I like to always remind you that knowledge is not power, action is power. So since you're spending 20 minutes with us today to garner some new ideas for your business and your life, make sure you have pen and paper available or a place to take notes so that after the program you can go execute. So let's get started. First, let's talk about momentum. Momentum is the impetus that is gained by a moving object, such as a ball rolling down a hill. So just the momentum of something, but it has to be moving in order for momentum to take control. Next, we're going to talk about inertia, the natural tendency of objects in motion to stay in motion and objects at rest to stay at rest unless a force causes the velocity to change. Velocity is simply the speed something is going in a given direction. Now let's talk about Newton's first law, which is basically the law of inertia. Newton's first law says that an object at rest stays at rest, and an object in motion stays in motion unless it's acted upon by a similar force. Let's translate this into human behavior. Behavior at rest will stay at rest until it's acted upon by an outside force or any force, because we'll talk about internal forces as well. So if you're procrastinating or avoiding tasks or staying idle, you tend to keep doing more of the same. This is the idea. Again, Newton's first law says that an object at rest stays at rest. An object in motion will stay in motion unless something stops it or changes its trajectory. So some sort of force changes the trajectory of the item that is in motion. So what this means when it comes to our human behavior is that what you're doing right now is probably what you're going to be doing in 5 minutes. That's what inertia is. If you're not doing anything, then probably in 5 minutes, you'll still not be doing anything. So the longer you sit still, mentally or physically, the harder it is to begin. Inertia builds, not just physically, but emotionally and mentally. So the longer you stop or stay in a static state, the more likely you're not going to get moving. So that is why I'll start tomorrow becomes I'll start next week, which becomes a stagnant pattern over time. Now, behavior in motion stays in motion. So we just said behavior that is static is probably going to stay static, but behavior in motion is going to stay in motion unless it's acted upon by something. So this means that once you start an action, whether it's making a call or writing or cleaning or exercising, once you simply start, it becomes easier to keep going. That is because one small action leads to another small action. And this is behavioral momentum. Motivation also often follows motion rather than preceding it. So just by starting, by getting the action going, that's how you garner the motivation. That's like the velocity. It keeps going once you start. So that is why, just like we said a moment ago, that behavior at rest stays at rest. And well, now we're saying just the opposite, that if you can just make the call it's much easier to make 10 calls, and it becomes easier to make 30 calls or 40 calls. This is one of the reasons why we launched last month the CMA a Day Challenge, because the CMA a Day Challenge was about just getting you to start. Just make the start, because the start is more powerful than the finish. The start is about the power of the present. Again, what you're doing now is likely what you're going to be doing next. So once you're in motion, then that is where the power of everything starts. Today's actions will end up shaping tomorrow's tendencies. This is important because often we say today's action is tomorrow's result. Well, the result of tomorrow is that your tendency is to be in more action. Starting is hard, but staying in motion is easy. So think about this, because in fact, Mindful Monday, if you read the Mindful Monday going out today, I make an argument for the fact that starting is more important than finishing. Oftentimes, when we focus on goals, what can tend to happen is that if you have this huge goal of what you want to do in your business or your life, you can get stagnated, because you look at it and you say, holy cow, I have all these things that I have to do to achieve the goal. And that can stagnate someone, that you get paralyzed by the amount of effort that you believe it's going to take in order to achieve the goal. And what happens? You stay in inertia. You just continue to think about starting the goal. So starting is more important than finishing. Just get started, because once you start, the staying in motion is easy. The hard part is just getting started. Now, momentum. Progress will begin compounding once you simply start something. So think about when you start an action, you're overcoming inertia. So by the way, that's why it feels hard as well, because you're overcoming your tendency to be doing what you did 5 minutes ago. So it feels like more work because it is more work. You're overcoming your preponderance to be doing what you were just doing. And most people never succeed at their goals, not because of they didn't have the ability to do it. Most people don't succeed at their goals because they never actually get started. They don't get over the hump of inertia. What's interesting about starting as well is that you become the person who does that. So the minute you take the step to start, you are now becoming the person who takes the step, which is different than the person who didn't take the step. Motion creates motivation. Motion creates clarity. The action that you take of taking the one step towards your goal creates clarity. And this is important because oftentimes we don't feel ready to go after that big dream. We feel like there's so many things that I have to do before I can work towards this goal. But in reality, you just have to start. Act first. Don't worry about being ready. Simply act, and then momentum builds. You begin to have forces that align with you as soon as you act. When you act, you have momentum on your side, and you have inertia on your side, that you're going to keep going unless some other force stops the trajectory or changes the trajectory. So let's talk about forces that change trajectory. Because again, all you want to do is worry about starting towards your goal. Don't worry about whether you're ready. Don't worry about whether you're qualified. Don't worry about whether you have the money to do what you're looking to do. Simply start. Once you start, you have all the forces working in your favor under Newton's first law, the law of inertia. Everything is working on your behalf simply by starting. Now, once we've started, then we have to worry about other forces, because now we've started, we have all these forces working on our behalf. So now we have to guard them. What are the forces that can work against us once we've started with Newton's first law and the law of inertia? So this is why your environment is so important, because your environment is a force. That is what you allow to come around you and enter into your environment. So phone calls can become, any distraction becomes a force that can change the trajectory. But also beyond that, it's the people that you surround yourself with. The information that you allow into your head becomes a force. All of it can affect your trajectory because these are forces that are potentially stopping or redirecting the trajectory of the movement and the velocity at which you're moving. In addition to exterior forces, your environment, you also have to be really mindful of the internal forces. So once you've taken the leap, you've made the start towards whatever your goal is. Once you make the start, now you must be vigilant and hyper aware of any forces, both outside forces, the environment, but also the internal forces that can sabotage your success. These two are the forces that can change the trajectory on which you are moving. So thoughts about fear or self-doubt or limiting beliefs, all of these are internal forces that simply stop the progress. They stop the velocity. Again, let's say again what Newton's first law is. An object at rest stays at rest. We're not going to stay at rest. An object in motion will stay in motion. That's where the magic lies. An object in motion stays in motion unless acted upon by another force. So those forces that we have to be vigilant about are the external, the environments that we're in, the information we're allowing into our heads, the people we surround ourselves with, and our internal thoughts, fear, self-doubt, or limiting belief. All of them are equally threatening to the trajectory on which we're moving. Distractions are more than an interruption. They end up becoming energy leaps. So think of it that once you've started towards whatever your goal is, you're moving that way. And all of a sudden, interruption comes along. You could now be forced onto some other totally different trajectory. It's a complete leap of energy. Your energy is now being misdirected in a totally different manner. So, inaction creates more inaction. Action creates momentum, and distractions create energy leaps where now our energy is directed in a whole new manner. When you are distracted, your energy becomes reassigned. So once again, we're dealing with inertia, that if we allow our energy to be reassigned onto a different course or a different path of action, we now are dealing with inertia again. That means that we have to go restart to get where we were on our original path. So by guarding yourself from the distractions, whether they be your external environment or your internal thoughts, you continue to let the inertia work on your behalf on the first path. When the distraction occurs, your entire energy is moved onto a different path, which means your inertia is now on this second path. And that means we have to go restart again to get ourselves onto the first path. Important to think about is one of the distractions that can move us off of our path. It is one of these forces that can move us into a different trajectory from our original path is just being overwhelmed. Being overwhelmed can lead us to, number one, not be aware. And by not being aware of what is going on and what our thoughts are and what our environment is, it is too easy to allow a force to move us off on a different energy track. So, overwhelm in and of itself becomes the distraction. What's really important to note, and you'll see it if you read today's Mindful Monday, is the most important thing to think about as you're moving on your path and achieving your goals is getting really good at starting. Because most people, when they start towards a goal, they're going to be redirected. They're going to have forces that stop the momentum that you were on and move you on to a different energy path, which is okay if you're aware of it. And it's okay if you become really good at starting again, recognizing that, hey, I was just moved off the path I was supposed to be on. So I have to restart to get back on to the path I was on. If you're not aware that it happened, then you're going to the inertia is going to take over on this other path that you were directed on. And then years go by and you say, how did I end up here? This isn't the path that I had planned. So it's important to be vigilant about where you're moving. What are the forces that can move you off of the path that you're moving on? And how do you restart to get yourself back on the original path? One of the ways to do this is to have what's called a motion audit. This is where you reflect on your life and your business and reflect on areas where momentum is strong versus where is the momentum stalled. Like, what are the things in your business and life that momentum is just really good? Like, stuff just happens. You don't have to worry about it. And what are the areas where it's just not there? Like, unless you're paying attention to it, it's just not happening. Then identify common distractions that redirect your energy. We all have them. And for some, it's totally like our thoughts and beliefs, while other people, what really ends up distracting and redirecting energy is little things like ending up on social media and scrolling for an hour. Commit to one start point of action today. So think about something that has been a goal for your business and commit to starting it today. Maybe it's been as simple as getting your CRM organized, that you want to make sure that by the end of this year, you have a really good CRM and that you have lots of people that you're reaching out to on a regular basis and that they're being communicated with regularly. Think about what is the one thing you can do today to start on that action. Also, just think about in your own business and have an awareness of when you're multitasking. In the world we live in, everybody has to multitask. It's the only way to get things done. However, multitasking fractures momentum. Multitasking in and of itself is a force that is slowing down or moving your trajectory. So be aware when you're multitasking and doing several things, like, hey, I got my eye on the ball over here, but I also have these 7 other things I'm working on. Be vigilant and stay aware, like, how is that multitasking affecting or hijacking my momentum on this one area that I want to complete? One last consideration, and we've talked about this through previous Quantum Sparks classes. Be super careful about justifying distractions and calling them opportunity. This is very easy to do in the business that we're in. So when you are working on a project or attending an event, whatever you're doing, it's very easy in the business that we're in to justify that this is moving my business forward. Oftentimes it's just busy work. It's not actually moving your business forward. So this takes super awareness, like really asking yourself, what is the return of me putting my time, because the time that you're putting on to maybe attending events or even attending classes, like how is that time creating a return for your business? Track your return on investment honestly. If you consistently attend certain events, for example, for the potential business, but you never actually get business from it, it's time to really look at it and say, why am I doing this particular event over and over and putting so much effort into that? Because it can feel good, because it feels like something is getting done. And it's very easy to justify a distraction and say to ourselves, well, this is an opportunity because it's going to lead to this. I spent decades working on stuff that didn't actually have a result in the goals that I was looking to pursue. But I told myself that if I keep doing this, it's going to contribute to the end result. And oftentimes it had no contribution to the end result. It was me justifying a distraction, and that distraction was actually a force that was ruining the trajectory for what the actual goal was. So as you are going throughout your day and planning events and doing things for your business and your life, ask yourself, are you doing it because it's truly effective? Is there truly a return on it? Or are you really doing it because it's simply comfortable? That it's just easier to keep doing it because you've always done it. Create an ROI log. So that means just create a spreadsheet for every non-core activity. There's certain things we have to do in our business that are like essential for growing our business. But then there are lots of non-core things that we might be doing for our business. And it's time to start tracking those and track the amount of time you spend, the energy that you spend, the money that you're spending. And then over a 60 or 90-day period, determine what the return was. Here are some of the justifiers that are very easy in our business. You never know who you'll meet. So this was me for many years. I attended thousands upon thousands of networking events, in industry networking events. And I'm not saying industry networking events are bad, but I would constantly have a justification that I don't need to do these things in my business, the hard things that I didn't feel like doing. I don't need to do those right now because I need to attend these events. But those events I justified because those were the easy things. Another justifier is, oh, it's really good to be out and to be seen, or something is better than nothing. Be really careful and cognizant of the justifications you make and determine, like, is this truly moving me towards the goal I have? Or is this just a cover up? It's a convenient cover up so that I could say I was working. So I can avoid the prospecting. I can avoid the hard work of being rejected by somebody when I'm making my calls or prospecting. Or maybe it's a cover up because you're out seeking validation or comfort over results for your business. It's too easy in our business there's so many things that can become forces that work against us towards our goal. This is one of the reasons why I start every class we do with the idea that knowledge is not power, execution is power. Because I see professionals that spend an inordinate amount of time taking training classes. And training classes are wonderful. Going out and learning new things about business or life, these are wonderful if you're actually going to execute. But if you're not going to execute, then it's truly not an opportunity. It is only a way to hide in the business. It's a way to look busy without having a result. So it's time to start having important new narratives. Instead of saying like, hey, something is better than nothing, say to yourself, something aligned is better than everything scattered. So you don't have to take every class. You don't have to attend every networking event. You don't have to do everything that other people are doing in their sales business, because success looks very different for all different types of people within our industry. If it's coming down, and the reason I spend a lot of time talking about attending events is because this is one of my points that I justified for many, many years to my own detriment. Like attending every single thing that I was invited to. And maybe it was a little bit about wanting or needing recognition or validation at that time. And a little of it was about that's easy to go out and network with peers is so much easier than sitting at home and making phone calls and trying to grow my business. And I can look like I'm working either way. But ask yourself when attending an event or a training program, ask yourself, like, if I had 3 new transactions that I was working on right now, would I still attend this? Like, if I was super busy right now with my business, with the goal, let's say that you have 3 new transactions you're working on right now, and you have inspections and meetings and things like that, would you still make room for this area? And if the answer is no, it's probably not really an opportunity. It is a justification of a distraction. This helps separate desire from necessity. Productive actions are just as important when you're busy as when you're not. So if you're attending an event, maybe 3 times a week, you go attend networking events, and you say to yourself, I would 100% go to all these, even if I was crazy busy and had all these other clients that I'm working with. If you say I'd absolutely still attend, even if I was super busy, then maybe it is truly something that is not preventing you from achieving your goal. It's not a force that is moving you off the trajectory of where you are meant to be. Productive actions are just as important when you're busy as when you're not. So true drivers of growth don't change based on your current emotional state. So just think about that. When you're thinking about all the tasks for your business, there are your core tasks, which are direct income producing, such as prospecting, follow-ups, showings, closings. And then there's tons of peripheral stuff that you can do. It's the peripheral stuff that oftentimes people get hung up on, that they're working on all these peripheral things, justifying how important they are when the core tasks actually get ignored. So spend 80% of your time working in a core column. And if you notice that a majority of your week is the peripheral stuff, you're probably justifying distractions. The most dangerous distractions are the ones that we convince ourselves are important, because a decade can go by that you've done this path but it was really a distraction all along. And it was not moving you towards your goal. It was actually moving, redirecting your energy on a completely different path. And it wasn't the path of the goal you had set out for yourself. So get good at auditing your week. What are you calling work that isn't actually work? Stop hiding inside busy tasks and start prioritizing the results over the rituals you've always done. And when in doubt, go back to the question, is this creating momentum or is it just filling the space where momentum should be? You should have momentum for whatever your big goals are in life. So look at everything you do on a daily basis, and are those tasks that you are doing creating momentum on the right path towards the goal you wish to accomplish? What you are doing is who you are becoming. So at any moment, the task you are doing is who you are becoming. The physics of forward is inertia is resistance, because inertia is just going to keep you on the path you're on. Motion is progress. Momentum is power. Distraction is misdirection. And starting is the ignition. Get good at starting. Just start. Once you start, stay in motion, protect your momentum like your life depends on it, because it truly does. And with that, I want to thank everyone for another wonderful Quantum Spark. And congratulations, Tammy, who just signed a listing from a conversation that was sparked with her CMA a Day challenge. So awesome work, Tammy. And thank you, everyone, for another Quantum Sparks. By the way, if you have anything you want to cover for future Quantum Sparks, you can always send them over to lairrealty.com/ask anything. And you can see all of our past versions or past micro classes at lairrealty.com/quantum sparks. Thanks, everyone.